All right. So first thing was done and hopefully done successfully. All right, now I'm going to mute everybody again. Please let me know. Feel free to unmute yourselves as we're going along here so that you can ask some questions. So today we are exploring the impact that lack of familiar food has on the lives and traditions of the families that everybody serves. We're going to discuss how the pantries are respond to ever evolving needs of the people that come through your doors. Every organization has some variety of culture that comes through your doors every day, and that can be, for most of you, a revolving door, an ever-changing dynamic. You may have one strong culture represented one month, and the next month you see a totally different change in things. We've purposely designed the series as an open table series so that we can all work together, we can all contribute and discuss, provide feedback to help us grow and develop, to best serve the ever-changing diverse clients. So please, we implore you, voice your questions, comments along the way. We did build in time for open discussions at different points throughout the webinar. So feel free to unmute yourself at that time. If you don't feel comfortable talking, there is also an option to type your comments into the chat box. Carrie is here monitoring the chat so that she's kind of my right-hand woman here, so that nothing gets overlooked. We'll address all the questions. If anybody is having problems finding the chat option, if you move your mouse a little bit, there are some options that show up at the bottom of your screen. One of them is your mute unmute button, so that if you have something to say, feel free to press that button. There's also, you'll see an option for chat. If you click on that, there will be a bar that comes up on the side of your screen so that you can also see the questions that are coming through. You'll be able to use that to interact and type your chat in as well. So those are just the two options that will help us all communicate equally in everything. So we are going to start things off from the client's perspective. Again, we understand that there are so many different cultures in all of our food pantries and soup kitchens and shelters and organizations, that sometimes it can be very difficult on your organization to provide the foods for the clients and the cultures that are coming through your door. It's also hard on the clients as well to not have the foods that they are familiar with and comfortable with. So we're going to start off by talking to Mona, who has gratefully, we are very grateful that you're able to join us and help share your perspective on what it's like to come to visit your pantry and see the options that are available. So I am going to pass it over to you, Mona, if you would like to unmute your computer and just share your story with us.
Hi, good afternoon. I am Mona Al Mubarak from Syria. I am been here 5 years ago. I am refugee. Now I have citizen. I am, when you coming here, United States, after 2 years, I am I am chef and work for cook Syrian, a special cook when you coming here and living this neighbor near the pantry, I am coming visit the pantry every month. When you go for bring food, vegetables and all the kind, different, some food different from my country. And the meat and the chicken, you for the Muslim eat only halal meat and chicken.
We have different food.
And different food. Yeah.
So how has it been when you go to the pantry? How are they, how do you express to them, what kind of foods that are from your culture and that you were hoping to see?
Vegetables and rice, different little bit kind. Grieve leaves, not you have the pantry. Yes, grieve leaves. The grieve leaves. Yeah,
Special food in my country.
special food
Yeah,
from my
special.
country. Yeah, and with rice and vegetables. Some people make with vegetables. Some people with meat and
Mhm.
roll. Yes. Shukran.
Have you found, over the past 5 years that you've been here, have you seen, changes in, availability of some of the foods that you typically use? Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you can't, find the types of foods that are, typical in in your culture, where do you source the other foods from? Where do you get any of the other foods from if you can't find it in the pantry?
Yeah, from supermarket Al Halal. This is this is special for my Muslim
or
and
Arabic.
very expensive.
Yes, I'm sure. Do you have a lot of, are there halal stores around you that are easy to access
Sometimes.
sometimes? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm sure Angela has been very helpful with getting the foods that
Yeah.
you made.
Yes.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Angela shared with me some pictures that you passed along. Oh, do you have them on your, oh, perfect.
Grape lives. I think this is
Oh,
Yalinji.
wonderful. Yeah, grape leaves. And
Yeah.
then she showed me a couple more. I just want to share my screen right now with you all. And Mona, if you could speak on some of the foods that I'm going to be showing here, because they made me very hungry when I saw them earlier. So can everybody see this first picture here?
Yeah, this is chicken.
Chicken. It's
Yeah.
a whole chicken though, right?
Yeah, the whole chicken.
Whole
Yeah.
chicken. And it's how do you prepare that? Is it fried?
Yeah.
Yeah.
شلون طبختي إنه؟
I want that for lunch,
Fried.
please.
Fried in oil. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
okay.
spicy before. Yes. Spicy with some spicy from my Syrian.
What kind of spices do you typically use?
Paprika
Mhm.
and pepper and
كزبرة شو لا
شو الدبس الفلفل.
تبرود.
I think هريسة
For
tomato.
spicy. For spicy.
Yeah. Before
Uh-huh.
I am with the spicy. After this in fryers.
Okay, wonderful. That looks delicious. Here's the next one. Maybe. There we go.
بصبعه.
That is meat with lentils. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
That looks delicious too.
yeah.
This next one was fun. That looks amazing.
This is makloba with eggplant and meat with
Uh-huh.
rice. This is oh, this is very, very, very special from Syria.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one looked so neat. And I'm guessing you cooked it in a pan and then what, you just flipped it
Yes.
upside down?
Yeah.
قولي شو كيف إنه عندك ضيف مميز بتعملي
Is this dish associated with like a holiday or something? Is this special to like a holiday for you?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this was another one I want right
Oh,
here.
falafel.
Falafel, yes.
Yeah.
That one looked delicious as well. So thank you so much. I'm going to stop sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing with
You're
us and for joining us here today. I'm going to open it up. Does anybody have any questions for Mona?
I have a question for Mona.
Yes, Angela.
So Mona, what is your children's favorite food? We talked about this yesterday.
Shawarma sandwich.
Oh,
Oh,
That wasn't-
and mac and cheese. Mac and cheese.
yeah.
Mac and cheese. Yeah.
How
Mona's great disappointment. Her kid's favorite food is mac and cheese.
mac and cheese.
Yeah.
How has it been to learn some of the foods that are more popular here? How difficult or easy is it to learn how to cook some of the foods that you may find in the pantry? Like the mac and cheese, was that hard to figure that one out?
No.
No. Pretty easy then?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it, I'm sure it was definitely an experiment as to whether everybody liked it or not, something different.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else have any questions? Again, thank you so much, Mona, for sharing with us.
You're
We
welcome.
appreciate it. We do. So the next guest, the next two guests we have video recordings of. So I am going to show the first video is from People to People, People's Place. I'm so sorry. I get those two confused all the time. I apologize. And this is Chantel from Haiti, and she's going to share with us. Again, bear with me with my technology here. All right. Hold on a sec. Okay. Again, bear with me. All right, here we go.
So Chantel, I have a few questions here to ask you.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Good.
It's a pleasure for me to be in People Place. That's a good place to be.
Okay.
Christine doing a good job in the neighborhood.
All right.
Very good job.
I'm gonna ask you a few questions. What are some main foods in your culture, and what do these foods mean to you?
I'm from Haiti. Usually we have dry food because most people are the farmers. We don't have, not everybody can afford a fridge to put cold cuts. Usually we cook every day. So we cook plantain, rice, beans, chicken, beef, pork, but mostly fresh food, not frozen, not canned.
Okay, I got another question for you. What is your access to these cultural relevant foods?
Mostly sometimes I go to the city, New York City, when I cannot find them at People Place, who is the best place to find them because it's free Now, cost of living is very expensive. Without people place, we don't know what we will do. So sometimes I go ShopRite, Walmart, whoever, or Poughkeepsie to travel to see if I can find it.
Find it. Okay. Got one more here for you. What is the impact and the lack of familiar food have on your traditions?
The impact is on me sometimes. I wish I can get it, but I'm here. It's not easy to travel back home to get certain food. It's not easy to go to the city to drive like 2 hours and a half. Sometimes I deal whatever I can. I wish Christine could get more. They could help more the neighborhood because they're doing a good job.
Is there anything you'd like to add? Anything else you want to talk about food and your culture?
Oh, my culture food, as I told you, mostly is dry food. But with people place, we don't have enough variety. But since we take whatever they give us, if Christine could get us more dry food, chicken, less cold cut, and then that would be very helpful. People place is the best. All the stuff is nice and polite. We cannot wait when May come because we know we're gonna get veggie, we're gonna get food until October. People place give food, toy for the kids. A wonderful job that Christine doing in the community. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love her. So that was Chantel, who's from Haiti. And some of the takeaways that we found from watching that video was the fact that if it's foods from her culture that she can't get through through her pantry, she travels all the way to New York City, 2.5 hours to get these foods that are familiar to her and her family. Which can be such a task. And especially, she says, now it's just become so much harder to make it to the city or to even travel back home to get some of these foods. Anybody else have anything, any takeaways or anything from that video that they'd like to share?
This is Tracy. Can you hear me?
Hi, Tracy. Yep.
When she said mostly dried food, what does that mean? Like dehydrated or
I
just
think-
like dry beans and?
Yes, I believe like dried beans, whole foods, maybe dried meats, smoked meats or something. Because she said that her culture, she's from a country where they have mostly farmers and no refrigeration. So my guess is that she's talking about things like dried beans or dried meats, and just whole foods in general, as opposed to some of the either frozen fruits and vegetables or
Okay,
even
yeah.
pre-processed, pre-prepared meals, that sort of thing.
Thanks. And it sounds like so far, both of the presenters, fresh produce is a winner,
Mhm.
something that is huge.
Yes. Yeah.
And I would add, I'm guessing that Chantel's, wherever she lived, it went to the market every day.
Yes.
Purchased the food that she was going to eat that day.
Yes.
Is that
Probably.
similar to you,
Yep.
Mona? Would you go to the market every day?
Not every
In
day.
that area where you go to the market every day?
No, not every day. Maybe every week I am go buy something.
Because
Yeah.
we go to the lake.
And it's far. Some place it's far.
Okay. And in the refugee camp, you had to deal with whatever the humanitarian relief provided, correct?
شو السؤال؟
Mostly rice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you repeat? Lina, can you repeat?
Lubna,
right.
what did you say?
I ask you, can you repeat please again your question?
What kinds of, when you were in the refugee camp, what kinds of foods did you get?
Yes, we have different food. Some from America. We like it like الباذنجان والكوسة مختلف
The kind, eggplant, zucchini. This is different kind from
Oh, it's a-
Syria. Different kind, different size.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Different type of the plant, yeah.
Yes, we like it, the vegetables, because we use vegetables a lot in our country food. When we eat a lot of vegetables, we don't find like area here. But if you find, it is too expensive. Sometimes we like it food American, but to find close like it, but it's different.
Not same
Not,
taste.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So different textures, different tastes of the vegetables that you're used to from your country.
Yeah, and in my country we can use olive oil for some food. You can find, but it is too expensive when you want this in halal market or in Arabic market. But you can use it in Walmart but some food we don't find in Walmart, or you want special market.
Yeah,
Yeah, only special
And
market.
specialized markets, and they're more expensive in the specialized markets.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, thank you so much. The next video, we didn't get the name of our guest from the next video, but they are from People's Place again, sorry. They're from Mexico. So here is the video from them. Hold on again.
Okay, go ahead. We're so happy that you're here to chat about the foods that you're looking for, and would love to see here at the food pantry.
Dice que ellos están muy contentos de tenerte aquí y que puedan ayudarte con la comida.
Gracias, muchas gracias. Yo estoy agradecida también que por ellos mucha ayuda.
She's very, very thankful to you guys because you helping the community. It's a lot for them.
Thank you. Are there certain foods that you wish we had because they're what you're used to cooking with at home, but we don't have them here in America?
Ellos les gustaría tener algunas comidas que nosotros como hispanos usamos en casa para cocinar, pero que a veces no las tenemos aquí en Estados Unidos.
Or here in Kingston, yeah.
O en Kingston.
Ya. Sí, pues sí, bueno, yo no sé, ¿verdad? Yo me gustaría regalarle algo que sea mexicano, si lo comería, que yo le haría. Como son chiles poblanos rellenos de queso.
Yeah, she would like to have the Mexican food and one day cook for you something and you can taste.
Okay. Well, can you give us some examples of what foods that they are?
Dice, ¿no puedes dar ejemplos de la comida que tú extrañas de tu país?
Oh, sí, como pues muchas cosas. Allá se come muy sano, o sea, muchos quelites, verdolagas, alaches, pues todo eso. Que frijolitos, pues aquí lo encuentra uno.
They find beans over here, but there is a lot of things they don't find over here. Like they are like little herbs, you know. They call quelites. It's like spinach, but it's different.
Okay, okay. That's awesome. Oh. Are there items that she can get around here, but she can't get them at People's Place because we don't have them?
Hay cosas que tú puedes encontrar en otros lugares aquí en el área, pero que no las encuentras en People's Place, no las tienen.
pues bueno, una que otra cosita la encuentro, pues ya ve que ya metieron en la Hanna por cosas mexicanas, pero un poquito caro.
¿Cómo
Entonces,
qué?
como pues chile chipotle, la morenita, chile en vinagre, la morenita.
Ya.
Ujú. Y pues la salsa Valentina, que es típico de uno, cuando hace uno un chicharrón frito, pues le echa uno. Todas esas cositas, pues sí.
She says Henna for her son Spanish food like maseca, they call rica,
Chile chipotle.
chili chipotle, and then
En vinagre,
ricardito, ¿cómo le llamas?
Chile Valentina, de la que
Chile
dijo.
Valentina. They are like
Para la fritura.
like salsas.
Oh, okay, okay. Wonderful. Gracias. Thank you.
Ya.
Gracias.
All right, so that, one of the takeaways I found from that video, was that it just showed sometimes the language barrier in and of itself for our guests to be able to ask for the foods that they need or the foods that they want to feel comfortable, which is a huge barrier for us, especially that lady had an interpreter too, and it was still kind of difficult to learn what some of the foods were that she was requesting and asking for. Anybody want to share some takeaways that they found from that video? All right. Does anybody else who is joining us here have any stories that they have or are willing to share from some of the clients that they've come to meet along the way?
Yeah, this is Tracy. That's what I'd like to hear, how the other agency folks work to provide food that is familiar to people, or are you here to learn just like the rest of us?
That's our second part of the workshop, Tracy.
I'm sorry. Oh, maybe they're, okay, I'm sorry. I thought that's what you were asking. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. So yeah, so if nobody has any additional stories, we can move on to looking at this from the agency perspective. How have you been able to respond to the changing cultures and then the changing needs of the guests that you serve? And so I'm going to turn it over to Angela from St. Vincent's Food Pantry in Albany to share her experiences.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kristen. So I'm going to start by saying that I've been the director for almost 10 years, but prior to that, I was a volunteer in the food pantry. I think it was around maybe 2006 and 7. And we were seeing an influx of refugees from Myanmar back then. And our pantry was located in the basement of the church. So we did partial client choice. So we were providing bags of pre-packed food, and then our guests could choose some meat and some dairy, and families got an extra bag. And what we were noticing primarily from the refugees is they were taking just about everything out of the bag and leaving it in the parking lot. So we weren't doing a very good job of providing cultural foods that they would eat. If I can recall, I think perhaps they would keep the spaghetti and the tomato sauce and everything, and if we had soap or toilet paper and bread, they might keep that, but everything else was pretty much left in in the parking lot for us to put back on the shelves. And I think if we had milk and eggs, they would take that. I'm not sure what we had for meat, but we had often had eggs and milk that we could offer. So that was a real challenge. And so I had this quest because they were from Nepal, Bhutan, and Myanmar. And so I did a little Googling and found out that dried beans were very common in their diet. And then I began to go to Price Chopper about 2 or 3 times a week and buy out every kind of bean they had on their shelves. And they would take it. So we knew we were onto something. And then of course I did a little advocacy for the food pantry to find out if the regional food bank could start stocking some dried beans, because I think there's some skepticism, especially if you go to the market every day, which I'm making an assumption that so many of these people living in the mountainous regions of Bhutan and Nepal were probably did not have a lot of refrigeration, much like the woman from Haiti, and needed to go every day to get the food, and that's what they would prepare. Anyway, so I did my little advocacies to see if we could get some dried beans in the inventory, and eventually that did happen, and they would go pretty quickly. So it would be like green split peas, red lentils, green lentils, things like that. So that was my first experience in trying to provide cultural foods to our guests in our food pantry. So fast forward, in 2013, our food pantry moved up the street in our Paris Center, and we were able to do full client choice in that space because it was large enough. And it, a couple of years after we had been there is when we had our refugees from Iraq, Syria, and Afghanistan, the Congo, and Somalia. And with our recent arrivals from Afghanistan, I would say 40% of our guests who visit our food pantry are from those countries. One of the things, and so, I'm always on a quest of trying to find cultural foods. I'm able to regularly get eggplant from Capital Roots. When USDA has chickpeas, I make sure I use all of my allotment from USDA in a month, because I know we have our Middle Eastern and African guests use those items, and many of us do anyway. We also had some students at RISE. It's a Albany organization that supports refugees and immigrants, and we had some of the students in different languages provide us with labels of items in the food pantry to so that they understood what was in the can. I mean, there's a picture of green beans on a can, but they may not really understand what that means. And so we would try to identify some of the items in the food pantry so they had an idea in their own written language of what we had in the food pantry, to try to demystify some of the things that we know are safe and not the same as having fresh produce, but at least you get some kind of fruits and vegetables. What else do I want to say? We labeled all of them. I supplement the produce that we get from the regional food bank. Every week I get another order of produce from Capital Roots. this past Monday, we had 40 households and we were like, had no produce left at the end of the day, literally no produce at the end of the day. So, you know, I mean, the bottom line is that, you know, we do our best to provide as much as we can of fresh food. I would say that when I go grocery shopping, most of my groceries are produce and meat and dairy. And those are the most expensive things in the grocery store. I'm going back to my little advocacy with the Regional Food Bank. The halal that we've been able to get recently has been a great addition to the food pantry. I know how difficult it is to source some of these items these days, but we do provide as best we can eggs and fish and cheese. Love the Nourish New York mozzarella cheese we get, and the halal beef and halal chicken that we have been able to get. And I've noticed every once in a while in a beef box, Hannaford has halal beef. So if you get a salvage beef box from the Regional Food Bank and it's something, there's Hannaford in there, you might want to check to see if it's got the halal or kosher stamp on it. What else do I want to say? Mona and Lubna, anything I forgot to mention that you think I should mention? What are some of the staples? You got to unmute, Mona. What are some of the staples that you take besides the meat and dairy and produce? What are some of those items that our friends from Syria and Afghanistan and Iraq might are taking? I can say what I see people take, but you're the ones that are shopping, not me.
Chickpeas, yes, vegetables and fruit. This is important. And eggs, milk, cheese. This is, yeah, and
Sauce tomato.
sauce tomatoes, yeah, and
yes.
for
rice, white rice.
And
Now there's a
cereal.
particular kind of rice that you like.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? What is it?
This is the kind.
Yeah. This is your chance to get in some, you know, to make a request. Was it jasmine rice or what is it?
Yeah, this is good. Yes, this is very good.
It's a little bit,
kind.
it's a little bit more, less grainy, I guess. I don't know how to describe it, but
Not as fluffy.
I only use the jasmine rice. I've become a fan of jasmine rice.
And the another kind rice is small. This is a lot of people use this.
In my country, this is name Egypt rice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Egyptian
rice. Yeah, it is used for mahshi, for grape leaves.
Yeah, for everything mostly.
Yes.
What about couscous? Couscous?
Couscous for a different country.
Oh,
Arabic country, but different country.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just, when you said small rice, I was like, do you mean couscous?
Oh.
That's, yeah.
For Libya, they like it, yes.
Or Maghreb, yeah.
Maghreb, yes, like this.
Different countries.
We are from Middle East, Syria and Lebanon, like.
Yeah, so the Regional Food Bank gifted me some saffron.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, remember. So you guys, that should last you the rest of your life, that saffron.
Yeah, when we eat saffron, we're very happy because
Yep. So what
In-
what
in-
what
Very
did you make
expensive.
with that saffron, Mona and Lubna?
With mandi,
Mandi,
rice with chicken.
yes.
I am used with mandi.
And I am used
Some
with
You
people-
only use a little bit, right? Only a little bit.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Some people use with another food and with another شو الحلو? with the sweet. I think I am with rice and chicken.
Yes,
This is
me too.
very, very good. Yeah.
So we've had walnuts and hazelnuts and pistachios in the pantry. What are something, what have you used those items for?
For dessert or sometimes when you cook rice with meat or with chicken, can you take in the top for rice?
And sometimes when you make sweet, sometimes
With the sweet.
sweet.
With the sweet sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Mamul, and for Eid holiday.
Kunafa, like kunafa, we can use some
Yeah, pistachios.
Yes.
Yeah. Pistachios on your baklava.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and baklava. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So I want to just echo, I think you said it, Kristen, that language is a barrier.
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah, it's a barrier, but I think it's overcomable. There are some days I feel like, why didn't I learn how to speak Arabic and Afghan and Dari?
Mhm.
But I can always find somebody in the pantry that speaks enough English that we get the message across.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I have to say that our Middle Eastern guests are very generous people. They often feed us.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're lucky.
Thank
Especially
you.
from those pictures that you sent.
Yes, yes. Sometimes they make meals for us, and it's very plentiful. And
That's
our
so nice.
volunteers appreciate it.
Thank you.
Nice.
So we're sharing some of our culture. They're sharing some with us.
I love that. Thank you so much, Angela, for sharing.
welcome.
One of my the highlights I got from you, even if you can't source the products from the regional food bank, just the fact that you helped to translate some of the labels on the unfamiliar foods. I think you called it demystifying those unfamiliar foods was probably a huge game changer in and of itself, in a way to help them become familiar with some of those foods that you did happen to have. So that was, I really enjoyed hearing that. Thank you again. Now I'd like to turn it over to Mike from People to People. Would you mind sharing your experience with just sourcing foods for different cultures and how you guys work to bring in the foods?
Sure, Kristen. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Hecker. I'm the Director of Feeding Programs from People to People. While I have been a volunteer here on special occasions for the past 30 years, I started here as the Director of Feeding Programs last October. So my background is restaurants. So I quickly learned that I am not my customer here, and that's been a big change for me. Our makeup of our clients largely Latin American, Haitian. We have a large Russian and Polish immigrant population, as well as Caucasian, but it's definitely a varied clientele that we have here. Some of the things we have been, like everybody else, we were doing curbside food packaging for the pandemic. And we just went back to client choice in May, at the beginning of May, and this is where we're learning now, because obviously when you're prepackaging food, most of it's taken, some of it's returned, but you really are seeing now people's preferences when they go to the pantry and get to select. So so we're gathering information as we speak, and the biggest source of our information is through our volunteers, who, by the way, were very, very hesitant at the beginning of client choice, of interacting and how it wasn't so much COVID, it was more cultural, and they thought it was going to be a little bit of a difficult transition. I actually had 2 volunteers that specifically came to me when we were going through the transition, saying, "Listen, I want to volunteer here, but I would prefer to just be off, repackaging things and not interacting with clients." And both of them they saw the interactions, and they saw the joy that the other volunteers were experiencing with our clients, and the volunteers have just really embraced being with the clients. And we're starting to gather that information. I'm gathering that information by seeing, these pallets that for months would just dwindle as we get a delivery from the food bank once a month. The pallets that were dwindling steadily, all of a sudden they're not, because the clients aren't taking it. So we're getting our education the old-fashioned way, by reading our inventory. One of the things that has been fun is to really scouring the salvage and donated inventory a little differently than I did in the past, because you can really buy almost 3 or 4 times the amount of a different type of rice or a different type of vegetable product from your salvage and donated inventory than from the co-op. So that's been a nice tool to kind of rather than pulling up the inventory and rushing to the USDA, seeing what's free, you go through these the salvage and donated, and you kind of get some offbeat items that some of the volunteers they'll tilt their head and say, "Why are we putting this on the shelf?" I said, let's put it, it's like we raise the flag and see who salutes it, so you never know what's going to be popular. As always, our clients are very interested in chicken, beef, milk, oil, the staples, the things that are costing them a lot of money. They're very, very interested in. I agree wholeheartedly with our clients like dried beans and the nuts so much more than the canned food. So that's probably always been a case around here, but now, so with the hazelnuts and the walnuts coming through. I want to see if I can show you this picture. I hate when people do this on Zoom, but I'm going to do it anyway. And that is from the Rockland Farm Alliance.
Oh, wow.
They are literally 5 minutes away in New City, and we go over there on Mondays. And it's an old farm that did a good amount of production in the county, and now they do have a farm stand, but they have us come over there every Monday, and they've actually asked us to start asking our clients what vegetables because they want to challenge their growers. Their growers want to grow stuff that people want to eat. And to be honest with you, they are providing, the zucchini and squash is absolutely beautiful. It can't be fresher, but our clients aren't familiar with it. So we do have to do some educating with that. And by educating, also, we prepackage a lot of our carts as well with items that we need to move and the clients don't choose. That's another thing we're trying to balance is, we don't want any food going, sometimes the food that comes to the pantry, it's got a very limited shelf life to it. So we do the best we can to make sure that food has a shot. So we do a lot of that. I just want to finish up by telling you guys, when I started, my family started a restaurant in Nyack back in 1984, and we did research for that by going to other restaurants and having my mom bring the biggest purse possible so she could steal every menu that we went to. And that's how you collected information back then. But now that my mom's purse has been replaced by the internet. I don't need to go around and take things that don't belong to me. But I very much am looking forward to taking some of the suggestions and ideas that you guys have and passing it on to our pantry, because this is where we can get what we can all get, and I can get a better education of what my clients need. So that's all from me. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you very much. My biggest takeaway from that was when you came right out of the start and said, I am not my customer. And I think that's something that can be very hard for people, especially, I mean, even in our personal lives, when we're going to an event or a party or something and you bring a dish, first instinct is to get something that you like to bring and share with everybody else. But when you're running a pantry, you have to really step back and say, not what would I get, but what do my guests want? And I think that's the best frame of mind to be looking at it through. Any questions for Mike? All right. Thank you again, Mike, for sharing. So right now we're just going to open it up. I've got some questions as an open roundtable for everybody to share. What do you find your pantry's biggest concerns or obstacles are with providing the foods from different cultures? Feel free to either unmute yourself or type in the chat box.
I would say, given what Mona and Lubna and Chantel and the other woman, it really sounds like spices are, and you know, we all have a spice rack in our house. And so what, you know, I do get the condiment salvage boxes, but sometimes you get like things that no one even knows what they are.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe a more targeted look at what are the most, Mona mentioned paprika. Saffron we know is very expensive, but there are probably other, maybe oregano or basil, dried basil, if you can't have right now, probably fresh parsley and basil are coming through on the farms, and we might be able to get some of that more readily. But I think spices and whole grains is kind of what I've heard people, Mona and Lubna and the other two women talking about, like fresh food.
Mm-hmm.
What type of whole grains?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can. Yep.
Okay. I am a coordinator part-time at the Sloatsburg Food Pantry and also a volunteer. And one challenge that we've had is the language. And you were talking about it before. We have developed we use a translator on our phones, and we also have a small iPad that we use. We have an app set up where we can use the app to speak to people if we need to. It makes them much more comfortable if they understand what's going on. You know, like if we have to have them wait to go into the pantry, we have a certain amount of people that can go in at one time. They don't understand why they have to wait.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it puts them a little bit more at ease. And we also try to, like you said, in different languages, like everybody knows what an egg is, but, you know, like if zucchini, we'll put it in a different language. If we can figure out, we have, you know, there's Asian, Polish, Russian, Spanish. We have a very big variety of cultures. And I think the thing with the food, different cultured food, I mean, that's important. And I'm gonna talk to Joyce when I go and see, you know, if we can work on that.
Mhm.
But I know that that app is a very good resource.
Right. That's great. Anybody else want to share some concerns or challenges?
Nosy Tracy here. I work at the food bank. So we have sourced the some halal meat, if I understand correctly, in our purchased inventory, but it's so expensive. And has that been a barrier for you ordering it? Or, you know, I mean, we want to have it, but our concern is maybe people won't order it because it's so expensive, or they'll have concerns about using their grant money so fast if they order that. So I wondered what your take is.
Well,
You're muted, Angela. Sorry.
no, given the percentage of guests who come to our food pantry that are halal, from my point of view, it's worth it to me. I mean, of course, having, you know, the Nourish New York items then kind of offsets when I have to buy it. I would prefer that I don't have chicken and beef at the same time, have to buy it. But I was buying the halal beef for when it was in the inventory for a while. Because I can get salvage beef, do you know? So it kind of offsets it in a way. And yes, I'm going right through that initial HIPNAP money. I think we're all forgetting that. I'm not forgetting, but that the inflation is hitting you all, and it's hitting our, you know, HIPNAP grant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I know you probably all are working really hard to find funding to help supplement that. But you know, it's a commitment from I'm a real believer in taking steps that provide a dignified life for the people who come to our food pantry. So for me, I'm committed to doing that, and our parishes. So that's where I come from at it. So
Thanks, Angela. That's helpful because it sounds like it's a necessity. So
it is.
Always try to get the best price, of course we do, but just knowing that even though it is higher priced, agencies that are committed to it it's a necessity. So thanks.
So I had I had some guest, I shouldn't say some guy, a guest say, like, why don't you have butter? I'm like, sometimes I think our guests think our food is free, you know, and I said, well, if you have the $145 to buy a case of butter, I'm happy to do that. So, so there are some things that, you know, I won't buy, right? But because I don't necessarily think butter is a necessity. Anyway, but I do think if we have a group of a population of people who can only eat a certain type of food, that we should provide that. That's my point of view.
Has anyone maybe sourced any alternate funding or looked into it, because we don't provide it here at the food bank? Has anybody gone that route? And if so, what have you looked into?
Are you asking about funding or food?
Funding for some of these foods that they're looking for that we don't provide.
Okay.
Mike, have you done, I'm trying to remember back, did you do any work with like Goya to source some food, some products through them?
We did. That was before that, before I had gotten here.
Oh, okay.
Diane, our CEO, had coordinated with them, and I know that we did get a lot of Goya product, and
Mhm.
it definitely moved. And
Did it?
yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I mean, not quite specifically to the sourcing, but we have a volunteer coordinator that her office is right next to mine, and there are many times she'll say, I have a group that wants to do a food drive, and what do you need? And I go back, I say, give me 5 minutes, and I walk through and I give her a very, very targeted list of items that we need for the pantry. And people are, they much rather get something that we know we need than just, go through and make that up on their own. So using that coordinator for a more targeted appeal is definitely something worth pursuing.
Anybody else? So where else? Oh, so we did talk a little bit about where else people are sourcing food from. Anybody want to share where they're sourcing the actual food from, not just funding for it, but outside? I know, Angela, I think you were the one that mentioned that Hannaford does have some halal beef, but are there any other stores or anything that you work with? I know, Mike, you said the farm that you work with. Any other ideas of where to source some of these foods from?
I was curious about that too, like if there are specialty food stores like in Albany, but I don't know what agency's capacity to make pickups is.
Mhm.
And I didn't know if those if they've ever been willing to donate product.
Right. Has anybody had any experience with that, with any of the smaller specialty stores?
Mona and Lubna, what are the specialty stores in Albany that you?
The near the mosque, the Ala ad-Din, this name supermarket,
Mhm.
and in الهداية in شو اسمه ليثم
البركة
الأقصى yeah.
Mhm.
This name.
Do you have a relationship with the owners of any of those specialty stores? No.
I don't know if they would be sort of like a Hannaford or a Walmart willing to work with any pantries that might be interested in getting donations or something along those lines.
في أيام تلاقي في حلال yes restaurant depot sometimes we find halal beef or halal chicken
Yeah.
but you have to كمية
and the box
box
the whole box
box
you need to
Oh.
فيك تشتري هو فيه
بس it's big sizes.
Yeah. Has any pantry done anything formal, like a survey or anything to solicit feedback or requests for the needs of their clients? Or is it mainly just word of mouth talking and with the volunteers talking to the guests when they come in?
Well, that's what I was gonna, that's what I alluded to before. We're really working with the volunteers. One of the things that the health department ran several vaccination clinics around the county, and they were not well attended. And when they had one of people to people, we had good attendance. And Diane thinks that that was directly related to the client's trust in our organization. So building up that relationship with your clients. Our clients are very grateful and the services that are provided. And so we're breaking down that barrier with them on not just being grateful and get beyond that kind of transaction between us and our clients and empowering them to speak up about what their needs, because I don't want to run around getting stuff that they don't want.
Mhm.
I don't want to waste a lot of energy on something that I think that they want. So we are building up that rapport with them, which I think has to happen first for us.
Yeah. Just goes to show how important and huge a role that those volunteers really do play. Not just coming in to help hand out the food, but to build that relationship and the trust for them for your guests to come in and feel comfortable and welcome. So just to conclude here, what are some of your thoughts and takeaways from today's webinar? Anything that really sparked thought or ideas? All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. We really appreciate this ongoing communication and this ongoing talk and just partnership with building a better base for us to provide some of these cultural foods for everybody. I hope you guys all enjoy the rest of your day and join us again next time.
All right, good job, Kristen.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Mona, for coming to speak, and Lubda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.